There's a saying that goes, a fine is a tax for doing something wrong. A tax is a fine for doing something right. By the end of this video, you'll know the difference between the marginal tax rate versus the effective tax rate, as well as why we pay taxes to the government in the first place. For the best personal finance content, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when I post a video twice weekly. Why do we pay taxes to the government? Have you ever looked at your pay stub and wondered why there's a substantial difference between your gross income, the amount of money you earned this pay period, and your net income, the amount of money you actually received in the pay period? Hopefully, if you're a savvy investor, you're storing away some of your money in your 401k and Roth IRA. But much of the difference between your gross and your net income is taken in taxes. Have you ever wondered why do we pay taxes to the government? You might think it's a silly question. However, that very question receives nearly 400 monthly searches on Google. Some of you might say that you pay taxes because if you don't, the government will arrest you. Others might echo Albert Bushnell Hart in saying, taxation is the price which civilized communities pay for the opportunity of remaining civilized. The more cynical among you might quote Chris Rock in saying, you don't pay taxes, they take taxes. As a quick reminder, I'd like to see you invest in the channel by clicking the like button and helping us reach our goal of 50 likes. Also, if you're enjoying our content, consider subscribing so I can help you with personal finance and economic concepts every week. Subscribing is free, and you can always unsubscribe later. Forgive me if my explanation sounds like taxes 101. Taxes allow governments to raise the money they need to pay for programs to sustain themselves and, to a lesser degree, their citizens. Taxes are issued at the federal, state, and local level. They're used to pay for services like healthcare in the form of Medicare, Medicaid, and Child Health Insurance Program or CHIP, infrastructure such as roads and bridges, national defense, public education, and public safety like emergency medical services, fire departments, and police. What can make taxes frustrating is not knowing whether you're paying your fair share and seeing others you believe aren't paying theirs. We can't control what other people pay. All we can do is work with either a tax preparer or a tax preparation software to ensure we're paying the least amount of taxes we legally can. Politicians often recommend different tax strategies they believe will ensure that people pay what they owe. For the sake of this discussion, we'll ignore the notion of corporate personhood. When I say people, I mean living human beings. Marginal tax rate versus effective tax rate. Marginal tax rate. In the United States, we use the progressive tax system. This means that citizens are taxed based on their ability to pay. Low-income earners are taxed at a lower rate than high-income earners. This is achieved by splitting taxpayers up into tax brackets. The marginal tax rate is a function of progressive taxation. Investopedia.com tells us that the marginal tax rate is the rate you pay for an additional dollar of income. The first dollar earned is taxed at the lowest rate, while the last dollar earned is taxed at the rate of the highest range for that total income. The money in between the first and the last dollar is taxed according to the tax bracket it falls into. New tax laws can change tax brackets. In fact, former President Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act changed all tax brackets effective January 1st, 2018. There are currently 7 tax brackets. There are also 3 tax filing statuses: single, married filing jointly, and head of household. The picture on your screen is the tax rates for 2020. It's important to understand that the marginal tax bracket an individual falls into is not the rate his or her entire income is taxed. For example, let's take Amanda. Amanda earns $125,000 a year from her job. This means Amanda's marginal tax rate is 24%. An inexperienced person looking at the chart may assume that Amanda's entire $125,000 salary is taxed at 24%. But that is incorrect. Only the money Amanda earns over $85,525 is taxed at 24%. Her tax burden actually breaks down like this. When you add these up and you exclude all deductions, Amanda's tax liability is $24,079.50. This would mean that although Amanda has a marginal tax rate of 24%, she has an effective tax rate of 19.2%. Effective tax rate. As evidenced by our example, the effective tax rate is the percentage of income an individual actually pays in taxes. Investopedia informs the effective tax rate for individuals is the average rate at which their earned income, such as wages, and unearned income, such as stock dividends, are taxed. The example shows us that the effective tax rate is pretty easy to discover. Using your tax form, divide the total tax on line 16 by taxable income on line 11B. It's important to remember that neither your marginal tax rate or your effective tax rate take state tax, local tax, or other taxes you might pay into consideration. Both are purely an evaluation of your federal income tax. The effective tax rate is a comparison tool used to juxtapose the taxes of two or more individuals who are often in the same marginal tax bracket. For example, let's take Beth. Beth earns $160,000 a year from her job. Who would you say has a higher effective tax rate, Amanda or Beth? Pause the video and write your answer in the comments. I'd love to see what your guess is. No cheating. Beth's marginal tax rate is also 24%. Now that you've watched this video, you know that Beth's entire $160,000 salary is not taxed at 24%. Her tax burden actually breaks down like this. This means that Beth's tax liability, again excluding all deductions, is $32,479.50. That's much more than Amanda's $24,079.50 tax liability. Beth pays $8,400 more in taxes than Amanda. She should be outraged, right? After all, they're in the same marginal tax bracket. Beth's effective tax rate must be much higher than Amanda's. Actually, it's not. Amanda's effective tax rate on her $125,000 income is 19.2%. Beth's effective tax rate is 20.3%. If you guessed that Beth has a higher effective tax rate, give yourself a pat on the back. You've heard the cliche that death and taxes are only two certainties in life. Death and taxes are inevitable, but death doesn't repeat itself. If you're going to pay taxes your entire adult life, it's important that you understand what marginal tax bracket you fall into so that you can take the next step, figuring out how to legally get into a lower tax bracket. It's also good to know your effective tax rate and how to calculate it so you can endeavor to lower your effective tax rate year over year. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to make a video outlining ways you can lower your effective tax rate. Now that you know how much of your money Uncle Sam wants, you should have enough motivation to invest. Invest easily and effortlessly using acorns. With acorns, even your spare change can grow into a mighty oak. Explore the new Acorns Early feature and help your children save for their future while you shop. Use my link in the description and get your child started investing in under 3 minutes. If you're a YouTuber or considering starting a YouTube channel and you like my editing style, click the link in the description to get a free trial of my software. Thanks again for all the support in the comment section. And a special thanks to my good friend Paul Brown, who is our new comment section champion for this week. Make sure you check out his Twitch channel, Gangster Giggles, as he helps you take your Magic the Gathering gaming experience to the next level. Link in the description. Join the discussion for a chance to have your comment featured. I read and reply to all the comments I get. Check out these videos on your screen on how to improve your finances. If you like this video, hit the like button. It helps out a lot. Be sure to subscribe and share the video with your friends. Check the links in the description for offer information. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.